Same swearing-in events, different candidates as Supreme Court nullifies David Leon's election and propels PDP candidate Doi Diri to the governor's mansion. Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says it cannot find results and data for the 1999 and 2003 elections. On the international scene, new coronavirus figures from China. More deaths, more infections. And in sport, CAF in disarray as FIFA questions financial transparency.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. To go or not to go? That is the question being considered by the presidency on today's scheduled swearing-in of Bayelsa governor-elect. Well, David Leon of the All Progressives Congress was set to take the oath of office today before the Supreme Court dealt him a joker on Thursday by nullifying his election and that of his deputy-elect, Bill Barakuma Degi Eremionyon. But former lawmaker from Kaduna Central District, Shehu Sani, has advised President Muhammadu Buhari not to cancel his plans to Bayelsa for the swearing-in ceremony today. The Supreme Court has ordered INEC to withdraw the certificate of return issued to all Progressives Congress candidates whom the Commission had declared winners of the state governorship election in November last year. Shehu Sani tweeted that the president should go to the event and attend the swearing-in of the new governor-elect, People's Democratic Party candidate, Doye Diri. It says this will be, quote, a good time to prove his for everybody, end quote. People's Democratic governors have congratulated the Bayelsa new governor-elect and his deputy on Supreme Court decision that sacked former governor-elect and handed them victory in the November governorship race in the state. The governor said in a congratulatory message on Thursday, the Supreme Court decision proves that, quote, God is in charge of the affairs of man, end quote. The message also cites this as a great victory for democracy and rule of law. The PDP Governors Forum says it welcomes Governors-elect Doye Diri as a member. The governors also advised Diri of the need to carry everyone along and run an inclusive government. How does an electoral authority lose a whole set of election results? Well, not even one, but two election data. That's what the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has revealed, that results of the 1999 and 2003 general elections are missing. National Commissioner on Election and Party on Monitoring, Professor Anthony Okosi-Simbina, made this revelation at a workshop in Ibadan on Thursday. The workshop is organized to look at the proposed collection of the detailed results of 2007, 2011, and 2015 general elections. Okosi-Simbina said the efforts to get the compendium of the results is to enable people to have the voter statistics. She said the statistics would help political parties to focus their campaigns during election periods. It said it would also help the government in the provision of essential items, and INEC would benefit as well. She said data from the 1999 and 2003 results were difficult to obtain because they were scattered in various offices. The commissioner said INEC has improved since then with a better way to store the information and even online as well. Small-scale farmers in several African countries have resorted to the use of drones for crop surveillance to increase their yields and improve incomes. Nigerian farmers are now also embracing drones with pleasant results both in yields and their bottom line. Reporter Deji Badmos has the story.
A scene like this used to be a rarity in Nigeria's agricultural landscape, but things are now changing. Farmers are now fast embracing the idea of engaging drones to help improve their yields and make farming generally less stressful. And it's mainly thanks to this young man, Confidence Odinya, whose tech startup is helping to change the face of farming in the country.
When we came in, we reduced their costs of spraying, their frequency of spraying from 6 times in a farming cycle for a 90-day crop harvest, that which is rice, to 2 times. And we reduce their spending from 5x to just 3x. Now, what that meant was, they were able to harvest close to 90% of every single seed that was planted on the ground, as opposed to 40 and sometimes 50% that they harvested and they have been harvesting in the previous years.
Odinye founded Bidrone in 2014 after graduating from one of Nigeria's leading technology institutions with a degree in civil engineering. He says he started the business out of a need to solve Nigeria's challenges in line with the Sustainable Development Goals 1 and 2, ending hunger and poverty. Bidrone is now helping Nigerian farmers simplify farming and improve their yield by providing spray operations, land mapping, crop health inspection and surveillance, all using drones. So far, they've helped several farmers scale operations on over 60,000 hectares of farmlands in 22 states and are set to help even more farmers through a new partnership with the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria.
What this will do now is to ensure that these farmers meet the capacity for food, because the drone ensures improving harvest yield, and by the time they can meet our demand for food, then they will make enough money.
Though there were concerns that replacing humans with drones and other technological innovations may be creating unemployment, Confidence argues otherwise.
Our traditional means of farming is outdated and it's not working. So why not implement technology and create other role for jobs for these individuals? I mean, someone who is spraying with his hand can now control a drone, because you need 2 people to control a spray drone. Secondly, someone who is engaging in crop inspection can now use a drone to engage in crop inspection. We hire engineers to program these drones. We hire engineers to repair the drones when they're damaged. We hire people to carry out the drones from point A to point B in terms of logistics. So there are much more job opportunities that will be opened for people in the drone technology, as opposed to them being on the farm manually spraying themselves.
Bidrone has over 16 drones, all imported from China. But Odinye says he's working to establish a drone manufacturing center in Nigeria that will produce 3,000 drones every year to aid not just agriculture, but also entertainment, security and inspection of oil and gas installations.
Coming up, African news. South African President's State of the Union address disrupted by raucous opposition. And later, international news. New coronavirus figures from China. More deaths, more infections. Welcome back. This is INEC News. Now to stories from across Africa. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa tried for the first 90 minutes to give a State of the Nation address on Thursday night, but opposition economic freedom fighters would not allow him. They were at it again, raising ruckus in the gallery. Draped in their red workers' outfits, economic freedom fighters were fusing about the country's economic situation, involving its struggling electricity company, the national carrier, and other woes. They were also protesting against the presence at the speech of the country's last apartheid president, F.W. de Klerk. The disruption forced National Assembly Speaker Thandi Modise to eject them from the assembly. When he finally was able to speak, Ramaphosa pointed to the country's faltering economy, which is said has not grown much in a decade. He said unemployment rate continues to rise. He also pointed to persistent energy shortages that he said have disrupted businesses. But he praised the country's great resilience and achievements and acknowledged new Miss Universe, Zozibini Tunzi, and the captain of the Rugby World Cup winning Springboks, Siya Kolishi, who were both seated in the gallery. He promised improvements in education, healthcare, land distribution, agriculture, and government financing. Some analysts said it may be difficult for Ramaphosa to pull off any of the big ideas he had outlined in his speech given the current difficult political climate. Former President Jacob Zuma, whose doctors say is receiving treatment abroad, did not attend the session. In its bid to increase foreign investment in the country, the Tunisian Central Bank is proposing foreign exchange amnesty that would raise the level of foreign currency savings and foreign trade financing sources. Adnan Chawoche has the details from Tunis.
The central bank proposed, as part of its general guidelines on the review of exchange legislation, to work with the various structures concerned, so as to gradually lift exchange restrictions that hinder some transactions with foreign countries, for institutions and individuals.
This is an important project because it will provide additional resources to the state fund. There are millions in foreign exchange circulating in the parallel market and abroad. The state, as well as thousands of Tunisians, will benefit from the amnesty.
The central bank is also planning to bring about some changes aimed at completing the liberalization of current operations to introduce more flexibility and transparency in the exchange regulations.
The review of the exchange law, which requires the amendment of Law Number 18 of 1976 and the implementing text, is mainly linked to the Tunisian state policy in this area. The central bank aims to implement more transparency.
The Finance Committee at the Tunisian Parliament has rejected the proposal and urged the government to introduce a new bill.
The Tunisian Parliament is not willing to encourage tax evasion and to legalize the situation of people who made millions in illegal ways. The central bank wants to give incentives to some businessmen who do not deserve it. We will back any project that favors real transparency.
According to the central bank governor, the amnesty covers investments by non-resident foreigners in Tunisia, such as the publication of Circular No. 14 of 2018 on the digitization of the investment form as a bank document allowing non-resident investors to benefit from the transfer guarantee. Regarding transfers abroad made by Tunisian institutions for foreign investment, the maximum amount was set at $1 million when financing with the business account in foreign exchange for exporting companies. Tunisia's foreign currency assets reached nearly $7 billion, which corresponds to 115 days of imports.
Ghana has a vibrant media environment that has played an important role in its democratization. The country has a reputation as one of the world's most media-friendly countries. Television and radio thrive in the country, but as Nabil Ahmed Rafai reports from Accra, Ghanaians have continued to rely more on radio for information.
Esi Amankwa tunes into the radio every day. It allows her to stay in touch with current affairs and keeps her entertained as she sells her food.
I enjoy listening to radio. It keeps me informed about things happening in the country.
Esi is one of many Ghanaians that will rely on the radio for credible news and information when the country goes to the polls in December. For that reason, the United Nations marks World Radio Day every year to raise awareness among the public of the importance of the medium. Evans Mensah has practiced radio journalism for 15 years. He says the information distributed on air is crucial for maintaining peace in the country. That's even more true during general elections.
Our ability to protect the gate from comments and, contributions and other, broadcast items that could inflame passions even further is one of the key things that we guard against. And so this particular year, like other years, what we've done is to develop very strict protocols to guide who gets onto radio.
Although information circulates quickly through social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, radio broadcasters say their work is still relevant. Ghana has more than 390 radio stations. Radio remains important here because it reaches the widest audience with information and entertainment and is accessible to those in remote areas that don't have internet or a television. Communication analysts are concerned about the surge of fake news on social media. Ahead of Ghana's elections, they say even radio isn't immune to the problem.
It has become even more burdensome or crucial for radio stations, especially because of the power that they wield to verify information before going out there on air to put it out.
For many Ghanaians like Esi Amankwa, radio helps shape their lives and guides their opinions on issues affecting the country. They want to trust that the information they get from radio is always accurate and reliable.
When we return, international news. New coronavirus figures from China. More deaths, more infections. And later, sport. CAF in disarray as FIFA questions financial transparency. Welcome back. This is ANN News. Down to stories from around the world. Total deaths from the COVID-19 virus has risen to more than 1,000 in China, and more than 60,000 cases have been confirmed worldwide. Outside mainland China, Singapore is the most affected. After China started using a broader definition for diagnosis, the number of cases has risen dramatically. This has prompted China to send a fourth military detachment of medical personnel to the coronavirus epicenter, the city of Wuhan in central China.
11 military aircraft from China's People's Liberation Army arrived in Wuhan. Many of the jets touched down carrying medical teams and supplies. It's the first time that China's domestic-made Y-20 jet is participating in a non-war military operation.
My crew and I are very happy to take you to Wuhan. You have received orders to fulfill your responsibilities as soldiers and doctors. We wish you all well. Win the battle, be safe, salute.
The medical teams traveled from 7 different cities around China. Some members' experiences include battling the 2003 SARS epidemic.
Our medical team has selected the best of the best. We have specialists in critical care, respiratory medicine, infectious diseases, and epidemic prevention.
The medics will treat infected patients in 2 different hospitals. The 2 local hospitals have more than 1,500 beds in total. The military medical team will relieve manpower pressure in local hospitals and bring medical supplies to the battlefield.
UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is chairing the first meeting of his new cabinet just one day after a dramatic reshuffle in which Chancellor Sajid Javid resigned. Johnson says this meeting is important for the effectiveness of his government. Several senior heads rode as the Prime Minister recast his top ministerial team on Thursday. Javid was required to fire his closest aides and replace them with advisors chosen by Downing Street, while the MP chose instead to quit. This means Britain will move on to a third Chancellor in a year. Javid's departure came after Gillian Smith was unceremoniously dumped as Northern Ireland Secretary. In other moves, Andrea Leadsom was sacked as Business Secretary and Theresa Villiers lost her job as Environment Secretary. Geoffrey Cox was removed from his post as Attorney General and Esther McVey lost her role as Housing Minister. Along with ministerial exits, the reshuffle included promotions for MPs who are highly rated by number 10. The U.S. Senate has voted on Thursday to limit President Donald Trump's ability to wage war against Iran. The Senate took this decision after a strike against an Iranian military commander and Tehran's retaliation last month raised fears of a broader regional conflict. The measure, authored by Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, says henceforth Trump must win approval from Congress before engaging in further military action against Iran. With the support of 8 Republicans, the Senate passed the resolution by a 55-45 vote. Kaine and other supporters said the resolution was not about Trump or even the presidency, but an important reassertion of congressional power to declare war. The senators say an offensive war requires a congressional debate and votes. Trump is expected to veto the bill once it reaches the White House, but a 2/3 vote in both the House and Senate would override a president's veto. The U.S. Department of Justice has turned up the heat on Huawei by filing new charges of racketeering and conspiracy to steal trade secrets against the company. The new charges indict Huawei, its affiliate, and CFO Meng Wanzhou, all of whom the U.S. is accusing of conspiracies to break sanctions on Iran and to steal trade secrets from T-Mobile USA, a telecommunications giant, as well as wire fraud and other charges. It alleges a decades-long effort by the company and its subsidiaries to misappropriate IP from 6 U.S. companies, including trade secret information and copyrighted works, such as source code and user manuals for internet routers, antenna technology, and robot testing technology. The indictment is Trump administration's latest move in its fight against the Chinese tech giant it considers a security threat. The U.S. Justice Department claimed Huawei ran an employee bonus scheme to reward those who obtained information. It also alleged that by gaining access to non-public IP for router source code, phone antenna tech and robotics, Huawei was able to cut its research and development budget and accelerate development, giving it an unfair commercial advantage. Up next, sports. Confederation of African Football in disarray as FIFA questions financial transparency. Please stay with us. Welcome back. This is INEC News. In sports, Super Eagles coach Ghana Raw has advised Joseph Yobo to get a coaching license if he must succeed as a coach. The Niger Football Federation confirmed the appointment of the former Eagles captain on Wednesday as an assistant coach of the national team, replacing Imama Amakpakabo. Yobo is expected to be on the bench when the Eagles host Sierra Leone in an Africa Cup of Nations qualifier next month. Confederation of African Football, CAF, is now in a state of confusion after an audit revealed so many financial discrepancies. The investigation into CAF questioned the body's accounting, its governance, and its payments. The audit revealed CAF's accounting was unreliable and not trustworthy. The audit showed some 35 or 40 large payments totaling more than $8 million were unusual or had little or no supporting documentation. The audits, which showed CAF is understaffed with an overworked and demotivated workforce, also highlighted transactions totaling more than $20 million, which either have little or no supporting documentation or were considered higher risk. They need to get their financial house in order. That is INEC News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Enjoy your weekend.